The water sustained thick, tall stands of willow and knotty brush that divided the ranch land as if by windrows. It was a geothermal area as well, with warm water seeps and heated quicksand that steamed in the winter. The name of the ranch had nothing to do with the ownership or history of the place. Crazy Z-Bar was just a description of the brand used on its cattle. The letter Z tilted 45 degrees to the left over a single line. Joe knew from experience that the Crazy Z-Bar was a good place not to get stuck. The first time he'd come out to talk to Trumley about a change in hunting regulations, he'd mired his pickup in quicksand and had to walk the rest of the way to the house. After delivering a lecture about the big game biologists in Joe's agency knowing absolutely nothing about anything, and any change in the hunting seasons would be foolish as hell, the rancher had followed Joe back to his pickup in a tractor and pulled him out. It was a cool day and the sky was close. The summits of the Big Horn Mountains were shrouded with cloud cover. Joe looked at the digital temperature display on his dashboard. 42 degrees. For Joe, it felt good to go back to work that morning after lolling around his house for too many days. It felt right to him to pull on his red uniform shirt and pin on his badge and J. Pickett Game Warden nameplate. It even felt right to buckle on his holster and 40 Glock semi-auto. Marybeth had told him a strange story that morning. He pushed it to the back of his mind for now. While recovering, he'd used part of his time to thoroughly clean out his pickup. He'd done a lot of the things he'd always promised to do when he had the time. He'd repaired his equipment and repacked his extra clothing. His weapons were all cleaned and oiled, and the console box of maps, ticket books, notebooks, and agency bulletins had all been organized and replaced. He'd vacuumed Daisy's dog hair off his bench seat and power washed the floor mats. It was as if he were driving a new pickup, he thought. He wondered how long it would last. Although he had the business about the moose to take care of first, Joe looked forward to seeing all of his girls together in their house for Thanksgiving. It would be strange, since the family had their history and memories in another state-owned home that had been burned to the ground and not at the newer, much nicer residence on the bank of the 12-Sleep River. It was unfair to his girls, he thought, that there were now more rooms and more space than there'd ever been when the three of them were growing up. Although Sheridan stopped by often, not often enough for her mother, April and Lucy had been to the new place infrequently and separately, depending on their schedules. This wasn't really their home. It was the place where their parents now lived. With Lucy bringing a friend along and the added presence of Liv Romanowski and her baby daughter Kestrel, Marybeth was organizing a fairly large Thanksgiving meal and weekend. No doubt she'd already determined who got which room to avoid conflict and how the seating at the table would be assigned. Joe's job, he knew, was simply to be available. He was good at that. Joe hoped Liv would have news about Nate Romanowski, her husband and Joe's longtime friend. Nate was away following the trail of an outlaw falconer named Axel Soledad, who had beaten up Liv, threatened baby Kestrel, and stolen Nate's falcons. Nate had left in a black rage, and Joe hoped he could recover his Air Force without leaving a body count. But Joe knew Nate all too well, and he feared for what could happen. With so much on his mind that morning, he was grateful for the distraction when Lorne shambled out of his old house and waved hello. Joe pulled into the overgrown ranch yard and parked next to a muddy ATV bristling with irrigation shovels strapped down by bungee cords.